The BMW slides into the parking spot like it owns the lot. Ryan steps out, navy blazer, white shirt, a watch on his wrist that took him 3 months to stop thinking about before he finally bought it. He's heading into a birthday dinner for his friend Jake. Good restaurant, good crowd, the kind of place where the cocktails are $18 and nobody flinches. He'll split a $400 bill tonight. His share goes on a credit card that's already 80% maxed. Ryan makes $58,000 a year. He has $340 in his savings account, and tonight he feels like he's winning. Here's a number that should bother you. Nearly 60% of people earning six figures, live paycheck to paycheck. Not because they don't make enough, because they never learned the difference between income and wealth. Because nobody taught them the 5 rules that separate men who build from men who perform. Income is not wealth. Looking successful is the most expensive thing most men will ever buy. And the price isn't paid at the register. It's paid in years, in options you don't have, in emergencies you can't survive, in the quiet, grinding anxiety of a life built on appearances with nothing underneath. A man who can't manage his pocket will never manage a mission. And the saddest part? Most men don't even know they're losing. Ryan was good at his job, really good. Top of the sales floor 3/4, the kind of guy his manager used as an example in team meetings. He had a social circle that filled his weekends. He had energy, charm, and a genuine talent for reading people. He also had no idea where his money went. It wasn't one big thing. It was the accumulation of 100 small ones. The $14 coffee every morning, not because he needed it, but because it was the kind of coffee that said something about him. The bottle service on Saturday nights, because that's what his group did, and showing up without contributing felt like showing up small. The sneakers he bought on a Tuesday after a brutal sales call, telling himself he deserved it, not asking whether he'd earned it yet. The 4 streaming subscriptions, the gym he visited twice a month, the meal kit delivery he'd forgotten to cancel 6 months earlier. None of it felt like a crisis. Each purchase felt reasonable in the moment, and that was exactly the problem. Ryan wasn't careless, he was numbing. Every swipe of the card delivered a small, clean hit of relief from a low-level pressure that lived just beneath his ribcage, a pressure he couldn't name and never examined. The spending wasn't really about the thing. It was about the 48 hours after, when he felt like a man who had it together. There was a guy on his floor named Daniel, quiet, unremarkable in the way that people who don't perform tend to seem unremarkable. Daniel drove a 7-year-old Honda Civic with a small dent above the rear wheel that had been there since Ryan met him. He brought lunch from home in a black container. He didn't talk about money. He didn't talk about much, actually. Ryan privately felt a little sorry for him. He seemed like a man just getting by.
Ryan kept telling himself he'd sort the finances out later, when he was making more, when things settled down, when the timing was better. Financial discipline, in his mind, was something that became possible at a higher income bracket, like a feature that unlocked when you leveled up. He didn't yet understand that behavior scaled with nothing, that the man who spent everything at $58,000 would spend everything at $80,000 and find new ways to spend everything at $100,000. What Ryan never talked about, not to his friends, not to anyone, was the kitchen table. Growing up, money was a wound in his house. Arguments at dinner, his mother counting change for the electricity bill, secondhand shoes at the start of every school year, his father's face when something unexpected broke and there was nothing in reserve to fix it. Ryan had watched all of that and made a silent promise to his younger self. He would never look like that. He would never be the man at the table without enough. So he made sure he looked like he had enough, even when he didn't, especially when he didn't. 18 months of minimum payments, compound interest working against him in the dark, quietly, the way debt always does. His car lease came up for renewal, and the new rate was higher than he expected. Then a medical bill arrived, a minor procedure, nothing serious, but there was no buffer, no account to pull from. He moved it to a credit card and told himself he'd deal with it next month. One Sunday night, Ryan sat down at his kitchen table and opened everything. All 4 cards, the personal loan he'd taken for a trip to Vegas 2 years ago, his bank accounts, every app at once. He added the numbers slowly, checked them twice, and sat back in his chair. $23,400. He didn't rage. He didn't call anyone. He just sat there in the quiet of his apartment and looked at the number on his screen until it stopped looking like money and started looking like time. Years of it. Decisions compounded in the wrong direction. He thought of his father at the kitchen table and understood for the first time that he'd been living the same story, just with a better costume. His company sent out a flyer for a voluntary financial wellness session, lunch provided. Ryan almost deleted it. He showed up late, took a seat at the back, fully prepared to spend an hour on his phone while some HR consultant talked about 401k matching. The speaker walked in. It was Daniel. Daniel. Quiet Daniel. Honda Civic Daniel. Lunch from home Daniel stood at the front of a conference room and said, without any particular drama, that at 29 years old, he had a fully funded 6-month emergency account, 2 investment accounts he'd been contributing to for 4 years, 0 consumer debt, and enough saved that he was 3 years from a down payment on a property. The room was quiet for a moment. Daniel had never received an inheritance. He'd never had a windfall. He'd never earned what Ryan earned. He'd just followed 5 rules, consistently, quietly, for 4 years. Ryan drove home that evening, and for the first time, sitting in the leather seat of that leased BMW with the payments and the insurance and the registration fees, the car didn't feel like status. It felt like a costume he was renting at a price he couldn't afford to play a character he'd invented to hide from a fear he'd never faced. He texted Daniel the next morning, asked if he wanted to grab coffee. Daniel said sure. They met on a Wednesday. Ryan didn't perform. He just asked directly, "How did you actually do it?" Daniel didn't give a speech. He didn't pull up a spreadsheet. He took a paper napkin from the dispenser on the table and wrote 5 things in plain, clean language.
Pay yourself first. Before the rent, before the subscriptions, before any of it. A percentage comes off the top the day the paycheck arrives and goes somewhere you don't touch. Not what's left over at the end of the month. First. Always first. Because what's left over at the end of the month is nothing for men like Ryan. It disappears into the current. Never buy to be seen. This one hit differently. If the primary reason you want something is the way it will look, to your friends, to strangers, to the version of yourself you're trying to convince, then you don't want the thing. You want the approval. And approval is the most expensive thing you will ever purchase. It has no ceiling and it never satisfies. Track every exit. Money you don't see leaving still leaves. Every subscription, every convenience fee, every impulsive Tuesday purchase. Name it, find it, decide if it stays. A man who doesn't know where his money goes has no control over where his life goes. Those 2 things are not separate. Let your money work while you sleep. Compound interest moves in both directions. It can build you slowly into something real, or it can drain you slowly into nothing. The men who understand this earn it. The men who don't pay it. Ryan had been paying it for 2 years without knowing it. Delay the reward. Protect the mission. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve your future, you're not depriving yourself, you're buying time, options, the ability to make choices from a position of strength rather than desperation. Discipline now isn't sacrifice, it's deferred luxury, real luxury, not the kind you perform, the kind you actually own. Ryan read the napkin twice, folded it, put it in his jacket pocket. None of it was complicated. None of it was new information. He already knew. He just hadn't chosen it. Knowing and choosing are not the same thing, and for years he'd confused them. The first month was about subtraction. He set up an automatic transfer. 15% of every paycheck moved the morning it arrived into an account at a different bank with no debit card attached, gone before he could spend it. He opened his subscriptions list and canceled 4 things without missing any of them. 3 days a week, he brought lunch. Small numbers, real decisions. Week 3, his friends were planning a trip. Nice hotel in Miami, good restaurants, flights on points that nobody actually had enough of. Old Ryan would have booked it before checking his balance. New Ryan pulled up the numbers, ran the calculation, and texted back, "Sitting this one out. Have a great time." His phone lit up with jokes. He put it face down and went back to what he was doing. The discomfort was real. He wasn't going to pretend it wasn't. Saying no had a texture to it, a mild social sting, a small voice asking if he was missing something. He sat with the feeling instead of spending his way out of it. After a few days, it faded, and underneath it was something he hadn't expected. Quiet. A clean, functional quiet where the anxiety used to live. He started sleeping through the night. End of month 3, he opened his savings app. $1,400. He looked at it for a long time. It wasn't a life-changing number. It was just real, solid, more than he'd accumulated at any point since he started earning. It was proof that the behavior was working, and proof felt different from hope.
The lease on the BMW came up. Ryan did not renew it. He bought a used car, reliable, paid with savings and a small structured loan, no performance value whatsoever. His friends noticed. A couple of them said things. Ryan didn't explain himself. He took the $520 monthly difference and pointed it directly at his highest interest card. At a party a few months later, same group, same apartment, same playlist, someone asked him what he was driving now. He named the car. There was a beat. Someone made a joke. Ryan smiled and moved on to the next conversation. Something was different in how he moved through that room. He ordered a drink he actually wanted. He didn't calculate what it signaled. He wasn't working to be perceived as anything. He was just there. And somehow, without the performance, he seemed more present than anyone else in the room, more solid, more settled. Ryan didn't become wealthy overnight. He became free, one decision at a time. And the first decision wasn't financial. It was choosing to stop performing and start building. He paid himself first, and his future started existing in an account instead of in his imagination. He stopped buying for approval, and his money stopped bleeding out through the cracks of other people's opinions. He tracked every exit, and for the first time, he could see the shape of his own life clearly. He put money to work instead of watching it work against him, and every time he delayed a reward, he was buying something more valuable than the thing he didn't buy. He was buying options, time, and the quiet confidence of a man who knows he can handle what comes next. There's a parking lot. A man walking in. Older car, coffee from home in one hand, unhurried, unperforming, walking like a man who owns something nobody else can see yet. That's Daniel. That's where the real work leads. Think about your last 3 purchases, not to judge them, just look at them honestly. Were they for your future or for your image? You don't have to say it out loud, just notice it. Pick one rule from this video. 1. Apply it this week. Not when things slow down, not when you earn more, not next month, this week. See what it asks of you, then see what it starts to build. Boys spend what they have trying to look like men. Men protect what they have so they can become something more. The difference isn't the income, it's the decision.